Every time a dog-friendly business puts up a no dogs allowed sign, dog owners assume something drastic happened, like a dog bite or a fight or a lawsuit. And sometimes that's true, but most of the time, dog-friendly businesses and spaces disappear not because of bad dogs. They're disappearing because the business gets tired of managing dog owners, right? That's bad humans. So it's not your dog, it's you. And we've talked to a lot of businesses. So this week we want to look at dog friendly through their eyes. I'm Heather Furby with Casalina Canines, and this is a Pup Dog Project where we care less about perfect obedience and more about can you function with your dog in public. So let's talk about dogs going public. If you watched my video before about the 5 behaviors that get your dog banned, you're going to know some of this story. But one dog getting banned is not why dog friendly spaces go from friendly to not friendly. In this video, I'm going to cover some moments that happen so you know exactly what to watch out for at your favorite spots. And if you appreciate me making this content, if you found any of it helpful, go ahead and subscribe so you get updated on the latest content. So let's get into it. I want you to picture a guy, and he owns a general store, like one of those places that sells coffee, food, wine, all the local stuff. And it's the kind of place that might be a little upscale, but it's still neighborhood family friendly. And he brought his dogs to work from day one. So being dog friendly was not an afterthought. This was all part of the dream, is to have dogs around kind of your wine country, gold country, country general store, right? And he put down his own dog bowl and water bowl before he even opened it. So this guy wants to be dog friendly. He hired people that all felt the same way he did, and we're ready to roll. But this is also the same guy that we're going to see flipping that sign over to no dogs allowed. So before we get into all these moments that happen that get places to be not dog friendly, we need to understand a bigger issue is that no bartender, no server, no store owner wants to tell a grown adult that their dog is a problem. Like it's awkward. It's risks a scene. You might risk losing customers. It's most of the time the staff doesn't say anything. They just absorb it and kind of smile and be like, okay, that's the dog place. We reroute around the dog and we keep going. But they have to comp appetizers as apologies, and tables get knocked over. So things start happening that we're going to look at today. And on the other side of this equation is most dog guardians assume that if their dog was being a problem, somebody would say something. But in fact, that doesn't happen. It's generally nobody says anything right up until that sign goes up that says no dogs allowed. And places across the country, especially some classic dog-friendly cities, are actually starting to relook at their dog-friendly policies. And they're doing it because they're calling it health and safety reasons, which is the legal stance that we can stand on. But often what it is that's just built up and they're tired of these conversations. So let's check out 5 moments that can happen to this guy with the general store. And these are going to happen across his floor, his patio, his serving room. And then I want to look at the questions he's asking himself from a business side during each one of these moments. So let's start on a Saturday morning. We are going into our general store, and the first person to enter is our over-enthusiastic wrecking ball arriver. You're going to remember him from the last video. And you've seen this dog. He doesn't just enter a space, he lands in it. All 4 paws, his leash out, maxed, nose everywhere, owner 2 steps behind saying, oh my God, he is just excited to be here. And trying to get like, whoa, slow down. But owner can't handle him. In comes the wrecking ball arriver. And he probably is excited to be there. A dog. New place, thousands of new smells, as we talked about. Total normal dog stuff. But then what's happening on the other side of the door through the eyes of the owner, that's what matters right here. So that door gets busted open. The leash is crossing the steps. The staff have to step back. Other customers are like, yikes, welcome dog. And servers are starting to think, oh my goodness, do I have to manage the entrance to my job description and not get paid for another thing? But the staff is awesome, so they handle it. They kind of smile, look the other way. They're good people because you don't want to talk to the owner because what are you supposed to say to the owner? They just entered. It's the first dog of the day. You're going to tell them what? Your dog is too bouncy? Like that's just whatever. So the staff look the other way and move on in their day. Later, our store owner hears about things like he always hears about them. It's second, third hand. And it's at the end of the day, he's asking his manager, "Hey, how was the day?" And they say, "Oh, yeah, it was fine. It was just a little chaotic at the door again." So again, that is the key word, and it's doing a lot of work because the business owner isn't asking whether your dog is good or bad or obedient. They're asking the question, how much extra work is this dog-friendly policy making for my staff? And chaos, again, at the door was not the answer they're looking for. So the fastest way to make a dog unwelcome is to make it somebody else's responsibility, somebody else's problem. And we end up inadvertently doing that every time that wrecking ball arriver comes in and we're creating chaos at the door. So move on. Later in the day, the next dog comes in and we've got the overtalker. That's the highly vocal dog he's a little guy, but he's got big opinions often. The other dogs, he's got opinions about the other dogs in there, who's at the cash register, about the family just came in, maybe about what sweater you're wearing. They're loud, persistent, non-negotiable thoughts that he's barking out. So his owner might be on the phone, right? We've seen those people, they cover the phone, they go, "Oh, he'll settle down. He'll settle down." But he doesn't settle down. So now we've got this barking dog and we've made it somebody else's problem because now the staff has to make a decision. Do they go over and talk to this owner? Do they say something like, "Hey, could you make your dog be quiet?" Because the person in the corner, another customer, just made eye contact with that look of like, "Can you fix this? Because this is annoying." So we all know that look. It's an awkward situation. And maybe the staff member goes over to the person, is really nice about it, going, "Hey, can your dog, be a little quieter?" And the owner's still on the phone going, "I said he'll settle down. He's gonna settle down." So what's the staff member do? They go back over to the register and smile, call it a day, and they don't say anything again. But the store owner can see it on her face. And it's that fear that the store owner says, "Oh my goodness, am I going to lose a staff member? Like, what's going to happen?" Because what nobody's telling you about that barking dog noise is that complaints generally are not coming into owners about, or store owners, restaurant owners about aggressive behavior. The complaints come in on annoying behavior. So it's not an aggressive dog, it's just an annoying dog. That's when the stuff starts coming, trickling in. And the review, when somebody finally writes their 1-star review, 5-star review is not because, "Oh my God, there was perfect dogs everywhere." It's they holler up with a 1-star review, not about the dog barking, but about, "I'm never coming back because this place is unmanaged, it's loud, it's terrible, the staff wasn't great." And then you've got dog owners leaving their reviews saying, "Oh, I didn't feel welcome. They said they're dog friendly. Everybody hated my dog." So that's when the 1-star reviews come in. So the question that business owners asking himself again is not about, is the dog obedient? Did it sit down, stay? It's, how are these dogs, or are these dogs affecting my other customers? And when the dog owners don't help their dogs settle, then the answer is yes. Yes, this is very much affecting your other customers. So we've got that enthusiastic arriver. We have the overtalker. We're going to move on later in our day. It's a beautiful Saturday. We're out at the general store. Things are starting to settle down. And in walks that aggressively serial greeter. You know that dog, right? That has to say hello to everyone. And wants to say hello to the kids, to the person at the register, to the staff carrying expensive wine or a basket. And he doesn't just say hi, like with his nose. He says it with his front paws. So he's jumping up on everything. And the problem is when the dog goes up,
Stop.
something comes down, which is usually a tray of food, a
Oh,
tray of
no.
goods,
What a
something.
mess.
And you can always, when that happens, you watch the dog owner kind of chuckle and go, "Oh my goodness, he's just super excited and just wants to say hi." So that aggressively serial greeter, he just wants to say hi. And most people kind of go, okay. But the sentence that we need to understand of "he just wants to say hi" is, it actually makes the staff the bad person in the scenario. Because now if the staff says something, she's the jerk that didn't like your dog that was just trying to say hi. If she doesn't say something, she knows it's going to escalate because she's watching the dog jump. She's like, it's just going to be a matter of time that I've got a tray of hot food and it's going to be a disaster. So she just smiles and is like, huh, great. Moving on. All the customers kind of give a little bit more space. It becomes awkward. And now, again, our store owner finds out, not at the moment, but usually after the fact, when one of their loyal customers is walking out and probably doesn't even do like a formal complaint. But we've watched this happen so many times. Somebody just walks out, looks and goes, hey, your staff handled that mess really well. And the manager goes, "Oh my goodness," or the store owner is like, "What mess?" But they know what that means. They know that there was an issue that the server had to handle, and that he's really starting to risk losing that staff member who just doesn't want to handle this stuff anymore. And quietly, that owner is asking themselves, "Okay, so what's going to happen when something really goes wrong? What kind of injury might it cause to like a dog, to customers, to staff?" It's like we've got to start looking at these because owners aren't necessarily looking at probabilities, they start looking at the consequences. So, this is just moment 3. We're going to keep going on our Saturday. And if you've owned a store or been into any one of these restaurants, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not making these up out of nowhere. So, later in the day, we're now serving food. We're going to be at a table, which means all kinds of stuff out, good snacks, and we meet the patio pickpocket. And this dog is committed, very committed to watching your food. Got patience, gonna work the table, got the big dog eyes, methodical, very unhurried, and figures, hey, anything at snout height, fair game, right? But I'm gonna wait for this stuff to come in. And all of a sudden jumps over maybe to somebody else's table, snatches that fry, and the owner says, "Oh my God, yikes, he's such a foodie, so sorry. He's just obsessed with fries, just obsessed with snacks." And everyone kind of laughs and goes, "Oh my goodness, wow, he was quick. That was really quick. I didn't even see that coming." And everyone kind of laughs. But at the end of the day, we go back to our store owner. And he's looking at all his receipts and tickets and starts going, "Why is there another comped meal?" It's like, well, because the sandwich was ruined when the dog got it. And wait, a comped bottle of wine? Well, yeah, because when the dog jumped over on the table, wine broke, had to comp a new bottle. Okay, justifiable. A comped cheese basket? Somebody says, well, the dog was as fast inside at the cheese counter as he was outside. So we ruined another cheese basket. So there's the other side too, which is these health considerations that nobody really wants to talk about because we think, oh, it's just a dog. What could go wrong? But having both humans and dogs eat off the same dishes, or humans that have a lot of slobber around, dogs possibly eating things that they're not supposed to eat, can create their own health concerns. So all of that starts adding up along with all those comp meals and, you know, things the dog broke, things you had to do to say sorry. So we're not even talking about, I don't know what other time could go into this. What about that manager who has to spend all the time talking to the customer who didn't think that was funny that the dog was stealing? The people that are out there that are going to threaten to report, they need to be talked down. So there's a lot of staff time there. So our store owner is doing the math about what comes out of pocket. Same stolen fry. Owner laughs it off. Other people laugh it off. Owner goes, who's going to pay for all this? And the real version of this story that didn't make either aspects because staff miss it, owners miss it, store owners miss it, is that possibly when that dog went and grabbed a fry off somebody's plate, they entered another dog's space. And that's issuing a challenge. That's a huge resource guarding issue or a in your face issue. And most of us humans miss it, but the dogs see it. So now we're on to things that could start escalating because that's the start of a real patio incident. Doesn't always start with aggression, starts with a fry and an owner who's busy trying to laugh it off and make it somebody else's problem. So our store owner is back to saying, well, who pays for all this? Because so far it's been him. So we're coming in towards the end of the Saturday. Things have gone, other than these 4 moments, things have gone pretty well in the store. So now we see that one person come in, end of the day, quick drink, and going to be super chill, sitting in the back, just gonna be with his buddy. And he's got his awesome buddy that we call the don't worry, he's friendly dog. And we know this dog as much as the overexcited greeter is. We've met this dog on every trail. every patio, every dog park, there's the "Don't worry, he's friendly" dog. But when we're in the restaurant and the super chill dude is saying, "Don't worry, he's friendly," but for 45 minutes, that dog has been friendly everywhere. He's friendly to kids. He's friendly over maybe visiting another table. He's friendly to another dog. Owner's over there being super chill, just nodding, going, "Don't worry." And the dog probably is friendly. That's the thing. But he's wandering. He generally, these "Don't worry, he's friendly" are off leash. And so the problem, of course, being maybe the other dogs, the other kids are not dog friendly. So we've got this wanderer who we're not supposed to be worried about because he's friendly. However, the staff actually has to say something this time because now we're against leash laws, right? So I don't know. The staff walks over, says, "Hey, and the guy's like, "He's friendly. I told you he's friendly." I was like, I know, but we need to be on the leash." And so the owner goes, "Yeah, fine," complies, puts the dog on the leash. Staff walks away, turns around. The darn dog's off leash again.
Don't worry,
Like the
he's
owner's
friendly.
just like, "I don't want to put him on leash. I don't want to captivate him, or he's aggressive when he's on leash. He's fine when he's off leash." All those reasons happen. Staff owner comes back, "Please put your dog on leash." Doesn't happen, but neither one of those are really playing into this narrative. What we're saying, it's just magically the dog is off leash and supposed to be friendly to everyone. So across all of these, I want you to notice, what are the 5 moments of he's excited, he'll settle, he's just saying hi, don't worry, he's friendly. It's that the dog owners keep narrating what they think they want their dog to do, what they want their dog to supposedly be doing, rather than managing what the dog is actually doing. So guaranteed, wandering off leash. These overexcited greetings are, I don't know, dogs in other dog spaces. When food is present, it's a recipe for disaster. And we're seeing it more and more in dog friendly places because that's also when they get into patio fights. And the honest part is we can recover from barking or a jump or one of the main things, but one of the moments, but we cannot recover from a dog fight. Dogs have a very hard time recovering. Businesses have a very hard time recovering. Customers have a very hard time recovering from it. So this is where the owner is finally asking, what happens here that's going to become a bigger incident? What's it costing? What's it, it's putting it all together. What does it cost? Who's paying? What could happen in this? And when is this going to become a bigger incident? So the part that we never see is because it doesn't happen at our table, right? It happens after hours back in the staff room because the staff have been talking about these dogs for weeks. And they mention stuff in passing in the back, of course, like end of shift as they're clocking out. The regular customers then start mentioning it, as we talked about, like saying to the owner, "Hey, your staff handled that really well," or "Wow, you got a lot of dogs here today." And it's just that little passive mentioning. But then the review comes in that's saying, "Hey, this place is getting out of control," or "It doesn't feel healthy." And then we start hitting the numbers, which is the complaints, the comps, that near miss between maybe the Chihuahua and the Rat Terrier that never got actually filed as a formal complaint, but everybody's talking about it. So we know those incidents and the math starts to not add up because the extra money that dog owners spend, and they really do, they spend supposedly 8 to 9% more when they're out because they stay longer and they've got their dog and they're there to chill, or they buy a pub patio for their, or a pub dog burger for their dog. They have an extra beer, but all of that starts to not add up to the cost of everything else. So we've got our guys starting to say, this isn't really adding up anymore. And the part that we can't even put numbers on from a business side is the cost of the awkward conversations that start happening because we have to talk to grown adults about keeping their dog off the chairs, off the table. Please don't put them on the bench. They need to be on the ground. Those are the conversations that staff just starts going, "Oh, it's getting so annoying." And the owners start adding up and it just begins, this is ridiculous. So this owner has to make the final call. And he doesn't want to because he's not angry. He loves dogs, but he's tired and he's starting to lose customers and he's starting to lose money. So one day he goes, "All right, this isn't working. I'm going to hang up the sign. And it's not because I stopped loving dogs. It's because I stopped being able to afford these conversations with humans." So the sign is simply kind of the signature on the paperwork. So when we run through those 5 moments, every single one, the dog is just doing dog stuff, right? They're excited. They had feelings. They like people. They want food. They're opportunistic. all of that. And they're probably all very friendly. But again, the businesses don't judge our dog friendliness and a great dog based on obedience. They don't do it like they're in the obedience ring. They don't need perfection. They just need to look at your responses to the dog when something's not going right. So what we want to say is the dog-friendly businesses survive on kind of a quiet deal where the friendly business provides the space, but the owners are supposed to provide management of their dog. When that breaks down consistently over time, that's when places become not dog friendly. They hang up that no dogs allowed sign. It's not usually drama. It's not always a big incident, although we said sometimes that can happen. It's just a sign in the window that wasn't there last week. So the good news though, don't give up because more and more places are becoming dog friendly and the bar is not set at having a perfect dog. It's really, the bar is set at having an engaged human and a human that cares, who is there with their dog, meaning you're clearly paying attention to your dog and you're responding to your dog's needs. You're not just there and having your dog behind you, having their own separate whole engagement in the place. So you want to notice what your dog notices, right? You want to reposition to a part of the area, part of the establishment that might be quieter before being asked. Try to intervene, at bark 2, not bark 40. So there's lots of things that we're paying attention to our dog. That's why I say we're with our dog. And then the most importantly, if your dog's having a bad day, or if you're having a bad day, you can leave early and with a smile. And basically, instead of narrating my dog's friendly, my dog's excited, my dog will settle, we're narrating, hey, my dog's having a bad day. See you next week. We're gonna try again on a different day. That is a perfectly acceptable exit. It's respecting your dog and respecting the other customers so that these establishments can remain dog friendly. That's the successful moves we can make that keeps up our end of the deal of managing our dogs. Sometimes is purely just leaving. So the best compliment you can ever get in an establishment, a dog-friendly establishment, is no compliment at all. It's got to be like nobody remembers where you sat, nobody spilled anything on you or your dog, nobody had a conversation talking about you right after y'all left. And we're not saying a pub dog needs to be invisible. We're just saying be uneventful. That's what we're training and working with humans and dogs to do. Be uneventful. We just want a dog that's simply hanging out with you. And it's not that nobody noticed your dog. It's that nobody had to worry about you and your dog. So that's how we keep dog-friendly spaces dog-friendly. So it's always remembering pub dogs do not need to be everywhere. They just need to be with you. And if your dog is struggling with any of these issues of being out and about, you don't have a bad dog. You just generally have a dog that's being asked to be in a place and do a job that nobody prepared him for. So we want to cover how to set up your dog for success in the next video. You can go ahead and check that out. We'll see you there in a minute.